if you take how you start your day in a schedule, like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at these times. I teach RAP, Wellness Recovery Action Plan, which is part personal intervention and part crisis planning. The people I work with are generally suffering from bipolar and schizophrenia.
Too high or too low. I'm happy. I'm well when I'm kind of in between.
With RAP, we hope that people will achieve the insight behind the triggers, things that activate the symptoms and what they can do. So it's various things that are required for you to stay well and regain wellness. You do these things and you come back to wellness. Yeah, thank you. I will. Right. I was 5 when I was diagnosed with ADD.
He was just so active. Sometimes it was hard to tell whether there was something wrong with him or whether this was just a kid. And then other times I would just sort of pull my hair out and think, what is going on here? Concern came when he was in kindergarten, and one of his teachers said, I think he may have some difficulties and we're going to have to watch out for them. So I was very fortunate to find a very, very good child psychiatrist. And when they described him as bipolar or manic depressive, I went to the library and there was not a book on this disorder in children.
I was 11 when I was diagnosed with bipolar.
And then I found out about NAMI, the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill, and when I went to their first meeting, they were stunned that I came up and could say all these things about Peter, because I was the first person who came to their meeting who talked about a child who was so ill.
Bipolar is when you either have manias, which is extreme euphoria and high energy, or you cycle. So you go from mania to depression, where you're suicidal, it hurts really bad emotionally, you're dark, you're sluggish. So you go from highs to lows.
He'd be either very active, not wanting to sleep at night, or else being so down he didn't want to get out of bed.
Those years were mostly hospitals. I was in and out. I'd go for a week, I'd be out for 6 weeks, I'd be in for 3 weeks, I'd be out for a month, I'd go in for 2 weeks. I just in and out of the hospital repeatedly. They were working on medications and I was always having problems with the medications I was on. I've been taking meds for about 33 years. I'm bipolar with schizoaffective, which means I can get symptoms like schizophrenia, but I'm not schizophrenic, I'm bipolar. You never have ground of what's going on. It's like you're out of control, you can't rationalize, and every time you think you have rational, something changes, and now you can't, that's not making sense, and you spend a whole lot of time trying to make sense of one little thing. And you start missing everything. It's really bad. I grew up like 2 blocks from here. My whole adolescence is medication and psychiatry. I'm entering adulthood, it's medication. So all I look at is medications and psychiatry, and it was just, I had to get off. I did not want the medications. I wanted something normal, but I couldn't be normal if I was off the medication. Wednesday.
They don't want to take their meds. They feel good. Of course you feel good. And you feel doubly good when you're manic because you can do all kinds of things. But you can stay manic for so long that you don't sleep for hours. And what does days? You can go without sleeping. So what does this do to someone? Then they go way down in the depths of depression. They get depressed enough to want to commit suicide.
The only way out of everything was suicide. I didn't have any other way out. So I tried to end my life.
It was scary. It was very frightening when he would get so depressed.
It steers you right there, and there it is. And you're not functioning. You may have pain and sorrow, suffering, but that's going away. It is suicide. You just steer right into the psyche of suicide.
As I'm leaving the hospital, I said to the nurse, I'm going home to take a sleeping pill. I'm exhausted. She says, do you have anything left in the house? If we didn't have humor on some of this, I would be crying constantly. But you have to find humor. You have to look in the woods and say, okay, here's a clear spot and I can sit. That's how we got through the most difficult times.
Surprisingly, she holds on. I don't know how she makes it through it. I wouldn't do so well.
He was caught writing bad checks.
Well, actually, it ended up being 1, 2, 3 bad checks. I was off my meds.
They caught him in the bank writing a check for like $5,000 or something.
I believed I was having money coming from a stock investment, which ended up being a scam.
And the prosecutor did not believe that Peter was manic and was sick while he was doing this, even though the court-appointed psychiatrist wrote an 18-page report on Peter's illness and how he couldn't control his impulses and how he needed hospitalization. And instead, the prosecutor said he was too bright and too intelligent to be this way, and so they incarcerated him.
I got 4 years for that. I had a fight and got my nose broke, but that was about it. So they had to fix my nose, and I got cartilage up here now. But that was about it for that one. The inmates treat you a lot better than I think the system or the guards do. And I wasn't taking my meds, and I wouldn't take them. They'd bring them by, and I wouldn't take them. So they put me into solitary confinement. I was talking to myself. Well, I developed it when I was in solitary for about a year. I would leave that on, and then I just go about my business. The Silver Diner was a drive-through bank teller, and I buy the cheapest ones, and they're like $3.35 a pack. It's running less and less, and has more and more break between them, so it's getting better. But I've never been in any but a liquor store. I was released from prison to the state, and then the state moved me to a state mental health facility in the area, which is great because I could take the metro and go places. I went to Springfield Mall, I went to Fair Oaks Mall, I went to Tyson's Corner, I went to Ballston. I was all over. Every day I take the bus a different direction. I have court costs, but instead of paying them, I do 330 hours of community service, which I do at Arlington County Library, and I enjoy it. And they said when I'm done with my community service, I can continue to work there as a volunteer. I asked my caseworker from the county to put me in Clarendon House, and when they did, I'd go there every day during the week.
Clarendon House was started by a group of people from NAMI, and they worked very hard to get that established.
Clarendon House is a clubhouse program. They have a couple therapy groups. They have 3 recovery groups. There's a writing group. There's 2 peer support groups. There's the rap group. Then you work in a unit, like you can work in the kitchen. As you get to know people, especially in peer counseling, you can really tell when someone needs help and when they don't. But I think the joy of it is, as a peer counselor, I share my experiences and how I've dealt with things and my philosophies that have got me through things. But the object is to have each individual build their own strengths to achieve the goals that they want to achieve.
Well, I get really focused, and either I'm manically thinking, or I'm focused on a task. The wellness part is that I don't stay in the moment when I'm well.
They're extraordinary people who excel, and part of it is when you're battling something that's so defeatist as a mental illness, you learn to overcome a lot more. Well, I live now on my own, in my own apartment, which is a 1-bedroom with a separate dining room. This dining room, this is it, because you don't get this in cheap apartments. Actually, today I'm having my gostiki, which my mom brought me from Michigan.
That's what you want your children to do. You want them to be well and independent and go forward with their own lives. And I think Peter's doing that. And I'm really proud of him.
Each individual can say a lot of people taught me this or showed me this, but it is yourself. You're the one that's doing it. You're the one that's organizing it. You're the one that's deciding your fate and future and deciding if you want to recover and be well. So it's yourself you thank. I get reminded a lot to watch myself because I'm a role model and they don't want me leading them astray. Just like they've all said, I've tried to quit smoking several times and they said, if you can quit smoking, the whole clubhouse will quit smoking. And just for that, I had to go out and have a cigarette.
It's nice to have him as a friend, not only a son, but it's good to have him as a friend. And I like that, and I'm happy with him. And I'm going to cry because I feel so good about him.
I mean, I want to help people in mental health and I want to share my experiences. So what I want to do is what I'm doing today for the next 20 years.